Ultimately, the money is not what makes that person who they are. They are that person. I learned this, and my mentor said this to me really early on. Money magnifies the behaviors. So if you're a good person and you right now are giving and you're helping, when you have a lot more means to do so, you will do it exponentially, right?
Hello everybody and welcome to Vibing Out with Texony. I'm your host Texony, aka Mr. WorldVibe, and what we have here is a community to give local voices a public platform of shared ideas, knowledge, and perspectives. So this is season 2, Go Home, where a majority of the episodes will serve as a guide for you to return home. But not just our physical house, instead ways of returning to the best version of ourselves, be it physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or financially. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go home. And financially, that last one I mentioned is what we're doing today. On this episode, Make Money, Make You Money, we're talking with a financial representative, Rebecca Dualchan, and she knows all about the financial industry. So I had to get her on because when we're talking money, we got to talk with someone who knows, who has expertise. So a lot of important topics in this episode. I'll get into that in a sec. But first of all, you're here. I appreciate you. And so much work went into this episode. I'm telling you, these feature Fridays, a lot goes into it. So first of all, for the studio that we always use, shout out that production space, okay? Like I said, shout out Rebecca, aka Team Dualchan on Instagram. So go give her a follow on Instagram. Show love to those who show love to you. So she spent the time to come on the podcast. Go give her a follow. And lastly, I put the podcast together. Show love to me by just, giving this video a like if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're, listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Subscribe, follow the podcast however you can. It goes a long way, guys. So just a simple like and subscribe. That takes us so much further in this journey. So thank you for being here. And as you know, we're a week away until my book gets released, How to Vibe Out, an ebook. Holy, I'm so excited for y'all to get it. I got the discounts ready to give to y'all. So if you want a discount, if you want early access to the book, because I am releasing it early, become a patron. Okay, so the link's in the description. It takes 2 minutes to join. It's as cheap as buying me a coffee. It's so cheap, but it goes a long way. You're investing in this community, and I want to thank everybody on there who's already a patron. You're taking this community so far. Look where we are now, right? So I appreciate everybody who's been a patron so far, and anybody who's considering. Okay, so you're gonna get, like I said, early access to the book. You're gonna get a discount off the book, 25 to 50%. And all the content on the Patreon as well. So including a behind the scenes of this episode right here. So go join if you want all that and so much more. And let's get into what this episode's actually about. Obviously, make money, make you money. That's what it's about. But it's got 3 sections. So the first thing Rebecca and I do is talk about how we think about money. Our relationship with money is really important because there's stigmas that come with money, like you shouldn't talk about it, you shouldn't talk about the struggles you have. So we got to break down the way we think about it in order to have the aspirations to become wealthy. Like, it's not a bad thing to want money. That's not a bad thing at all, right? So we talk about that first. Then we go into the practical, actually budgeting. So we're actually budget money. We actually have a bunch of money in this episode, and we budget it out as if this money was your monthly income. So we see how Rebecca, being a financial representative, how she would, budget out this money safely, accordingly, and just, intelligently. And I try first, but we go back and forth with that. It's really exciting. Real money. So be ready for that. And lastly, we talk investing, which is something that's on everybody's mind nowadays. You see all these Wealth Simple, you see those Robinhood, Bitcoin, everything is going on with investing. But, being in her industry, Rebecca really knows how to help people invest, how to help people manage their finances. So she advocates for, investing wisely. And so you're going to hear some insight, knowledge, and tips that you won't hear anywhere else. So thank you for being here. I'm excited for you to listen. You're going to learn something. Trust me, you will. You're going to appreciate our conversations. And I know I did just by sitting down with Rebecca. So much in this episode. Hope you're ready. Yeah, let's just get to it. So enjoy the episode. Peace. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Vibing Out with Texony. I'm here with Rebecca Dulchan,
Yes.
and she's a financial rep. So we're going to talk money today, guys. We're going to talk all about money, get you set up and talk ideas about money. We'll go into some practical application, and I feel like you're going to learn something, or you're just going to appreciate our perspectives, your insights, especially by working in the financial industry. Mm-hmm. So you want to talk a little bit about yourself and kind of like what compelled you to go into the financial industry?
Well, just about myself, I knew in my life I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to be able to, live a very luxurious life. And I didn't really know a lot about money. So I, had to take the time to get to know it, to learn about it. And that's kind of what compelled me to get into the industry. And then it turned out that when I was in the industry, it actually fit my personality pretty good. Just how I am with budgeting, with saving, with learning. It worked really well. So I've just been pursuing it ever since.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's such an amazing field. We were talking about this earlier, how you kind of change trajectories a little bit, and that happens. People don't stay in the same career their whole lives anyways. You kind of go through different areas, avenues, but I mean, it's an amazing place to be financial industry. You can help so many people.
Oh yeah. Help
yourself and others. And you like you said, you love learning.
Exactly.
And that's something I noticed. Like as you say, you're reading books all the time. You're taking in knowledge all the time. That's in of itself. That's an asset to have, no matter what you're learning. Just to be open to knowledge. So that's awesome. And yeah, thanks for being here today.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about financial education, obviously in multiple aspects. So like I said, we're going to start with ideas. We're going to talk about the mindset, budgeting, things like this, and then talk finally into actually investing, how we can make our money make us money. Okay. So why would you say financial literacy is so important? Like, why is it important? And what would you say to somebody who's considering learning more about this topic?
Well, anybody who wants to learn more about money, I always say that's something that you're never going to regret. That's a life skill that you're always going to be able to use. And it's something that you can use to even change your future generations in your family. When you take the time to learn about money, you need money to do almost everything in life. If you want to buy a house or buy a car, you want to start a business, you need to have knowledge, a certain degree of knowledge about money. So anybody that wants to learn about it, I always say take the opportunity and do it. Sorry, what did you ask me? What was this?
What would compel someone to be interested in this? And ideas about money, because it's such a big part of life, but not everyone cares to get educated about it. It's not something that we kind of are grown and with, we don't really learn it in the normal education system. It's not big in that.
Right.
So why is it so important to learn, right? That's kind of why I want to start.
Well, the number one thing that I say when I talk to my clients, when I talk to people that I'm trying to help, is that if you don't know about your finances, you don't know where you're sitting at, and then therefore you can't make a plan for the future, right? You need to know where you're starting. You need to see kind of where your pitfalls are at, where you're really good at, where you need to kind of be saving, like we were talking about, or where you need to, put a little bit of more money into. And that's always something that is always good to start. A lot of people, they don't really understand how much money they would need to have when it comes to retirement to live their same lifestyle. That's something that I kind of show my clients. I talk to them about. A lot of people don't understand, how to get out of debt without going into maybe a consumer proposal or, doing something like that. There's very easy ways of being able to maneuver your money, to budget, but you need to know where you're at to kind of plan for your future.
Sure. And you're talking about just retiring and debt. And these are things that the generations above us, they had careers that lasted them a long time. So they had, for them retiring was a little bit easier. For us in our generation, we have multiple careers, jobs. So these things aren't really set up for us as easily. Debt is a huge thing because lifestyle is more expensive. Everything's been inflated nowadays. There's so much consumerism, capitalism. So we kind of want to find ways of, balancing out capitalism, like let's make money, let's earn money, with the realistic feeling of, okay, how much do we really need to be satisfied? Let's look at our individual situations, as you're kind of advocating for.
Yeah, like
right?
A lot of the things that I also see with my clients is, and we kind of try to address, is their money habits and kind of what the root of that is. Some people, they buy things that they need because they need them. Some people buy things because they think that they need them. So that's kind of something that we address, and it kind of helps you to open your eyes and really see, not buy into the consumerism as you're saying, and not fall into that trap. You know, obviously you want to have nice things, you want to do well, you want to, you know, take care of yourself. Even myself, I want to have nice things in my future, but there is a way to plan and get there. You need to do it the smart way, not the way to get yourself into a lot of debt. So
exactly. And no one's going to look out for you if you don't look out for yourself with these things, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, let's start there. Let's start about how we think about money. Before we get into the, you know, practical and application side of things, let's just start with ideas. Let's pick your brain a little bit, because, you know, we can go back and forth and have these conversations, and hopefully people listening can, you know, reflect on their own situations. It's something we can all relate to, which is why I love this topic. It's so important. So let's go back for a minute. You know, before we go forward, let's go back. So prior to you getting into the financial industry and learning about what you know now, kind of what were some of the ideas that you learned about money growing up from your parents, and what actions did those ideas create?
Well, definitely my dad had a really big influence on me when it comes to money and earning money. I'm a child of immigrants. My parents came here in the 80s from Trinidad, and when they came here, they didn't really have that much. So all they really had to do, and all they really could do, was work. My dad was really fortunate. He was a tradesman. So at that time, Canada was looking for tradesmen. So he got through with that program, and he was able to get a good job. You know, like, I always thank my dad every day, because he put myself, my brother, and my sister through university and college, and we didn't have to take out any student loans or anything like that. And,
Awesome.
you know, when he had the opportunity, he looked into opening his own business. And the one thing my dad always told me is, you need to have a lot of money to live happy in this world. And it's good.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know,
Let's face it.
it's true in a sense of, you know, if you want to have things like a house and a car, and you don't want to be working just to have those things, you need to be smart and be able to have money, but not just be working all the time to have money. Figure out a way to have the money work for you too. And that's the one thing, like, I've learned a lot about in this industry. And I mean, my dad's influence really helped me to get away from the spending side. I was more of a saver when I was young. I was able to save a lot of money, and, you know, my siblings used to make fun of me all the time and say, like, I'm stingy or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
But
See, they don't see what, like we said earlier in the behind the scenes, like people don't really flex their savings a lot, but you look back and you're like, well, you were setting up yourself for habits that you can carry off to now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, it really helped me a lot. Like, my dad, he did really well for himself. You know, he had a business, and he was working for a really long time doing that. And yeah, like, I really looked after that, and that's kind of what I'm looking for too, to have my own business, to be my own boss kind of thing. And
right on.
And
move into one of those big houses that you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, right on. Dream big. And this idea about, like, you have to have money to have the life you want to live, that's just true. One of my mentors, he talks about financial freedom, and somebody asked him about that, but he kind of sees that term as, it's kind of like a paradoxical, because freedom, to be free in our society, you have to have finance. You have to have your finances in place.
Exactly.
You can't be working for somebody and be free to do what you want, to travel when you want, to spend time with your family as much as you want. So it was that point he made where, financial freedom, as much of it as it is a term, it's really just freedom that comes with financial ability, stability, and, you know, independence.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, the one thing that I've seen growing up is that, you know, some people have this outlook about people who accumulate a lot of wealth, or people who have a lot of money, and maybe sometimes that's negative, but Ultimately, the money is not what makes that person who they are. They are that person. I learned this, and my mentor said this to me really early on. Money magnifies the behaviors. So if you're a good person and you right now are giving and you're helping, when you have a lot more means to do so, you will do it exponentially, right?
So
and
big. That's true.
and that's the one thing, like, it really spoke to me because money can help you help other people, and that's the one thing I really want to do in my life too. Yeah. So
wow, that's a big quote. I mean, quotes, you can take a quote and you can just apply it to your life. It sits with you so well. And another quote that I kind of want to kind of segue that into is a quote that Jen Sincero wrote in her book, which is the book that you put me onto. You told me to read this before we do this sit down. And the book is, I have the title here, You're a Badass at Making Money. Okay, yes, I got it this time. I love that book. I listened to it. I just kept listening to it because it was so compelling. So this quote is, again, it's like so important. It stick with me. It resonated with me. I'll read it so you guys can hear it. You probably know the quote. When it comes to having sex and making money, you're supposed to know what you're doing and be great at it. But nobody teaches you anything about it. And you're never supposed to talk about it because it's inappropriate, dirty, not so classy. We're ashamed if we don't have it. We're even more ashamed to admit we want it. So she's equating money to sex. And it's true because there's such a stigma with money. And, that's some of the things we don't talk about. Our debts. We don't talk about our struggles with money. I remember you talking about, your family and how they didn't really share those ideas, but they shared the successes and they were able to, have those bloom, but you don't really get to see the things that you need to learn about. And so that was just one of my biggest takeaways from that book was let's decrease the stigma because when you do that, you can get into why you want to make the money. You can answer the question why. How, you'll figure out how, but why is the most important thing. And knowing that it's okay to want to be rich. That's fine. So like, what are some of your biggest takeaways from that book? What would you say?
I think my number one takeaway from that book was just learning and understanding what my relationship was with money, kind of seeing where I was at, what stigmas or ideas I had that I didn't really understand or know that I had them about money. And it really helped me to confront them because, as I said, like, I want to be able to make a lot of money in my life. I want to be able to do great things and big things with that. And when I have those dreams, but then my thoughts are, oh, maybe I'm not good enough to make money, or maybe I'm not, I don't have the skills to do that, or, that person just is lucky. Those kinds of thoughts really, they kind of put a blocker up to that financial overflow, right?
Yeah, they do.
So when I confronted those ideas that I had about myself, I was able to put myself at that level to get to where I'm at, where I want to be at, to make that kind of money, right? You need to always be learning and growing and bettering yourself to put yourself at those levels where that money is at. It's not going to get to you where you're sitting at right now. You always have to grow and learn and be better. So
yeah, and like you said, you got to get rid of those self-limiting beliefs. And we're all human. We all have fears, insecurities, doubts. That's just a human experience. But when you attack those, and like we're saying, the ideas that you have about money will really shape and accelerate the process of how to get it. And so that was one of the things we saw with Jen.
Yes.
She did that so well. She talked about that. It was amazing. So hopefully some of these ideas make you guys, think about your own ideas towards money, because that's where we got to start.
Yes.
Right? Let's talk about how we budget our money. Hopefully if you're watching this, you have an income, or if you're listening, you have an income. Okay. Even if it's serve. Okay. We most of us have an income.
Yes.
We're adults. So we got to talk about how we budget it properly now. And I want to give you a quote that is really interesting to me. When I think about budgeting, I think about what I spend. And this quote says, "A man that buys what he does not need steals from himself." Right. And so let's get into budgeting. Let's talk about, what can we say about the importance of budgeting straight off the bat, like writing down, keeping track digitally of one's income versus expenses. What can we say about that in order to encourage people to start practicing, this financial habit?
I think, like I was saying before, when you do that, you have the full picture of where you're sitting at in terms of how much money you're
Facts.
making and what you're spending your money on, and, you know, how you can do better with saving. I encounter so many people that say they don't have money to save, which is crazy because you can have money for a lot of things that you don't need. And saving is something that's going to help you for your future, right? And you should always be kind of putting yourself first when it comes to that, and saving, pay yourself first. That's such an important thing to do. So
big one.
Exactly. Like, you know, if you don't write it down, you don't have a clear knowledge, then you don't know where all your money is going. And then, you know, you might really think you don't have any money to save, but we can always help with that for sure.
Why? I don't understand how you can be an adult with expenses and not budget. You might have such little expenses and enough income where every single time you get your paycheck, you pay whatever you need to, and you always have a surplus of money, so you don't really care. But that's gonna keep you in that position. No, that's gonna keep you where you are.
Exactly. I think that sometimes people don't want to do it because they don't want to confront their behaviors. It might not be the what you're talking about. It's really like people don't want to admit that maybe they're not doing what they should be doing with their money. They maybe might not be saving.
They don't want to see their skip the dishes
exactly.
bill. They're shopping. They're all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's true. It's true.
That's the thing, is that a lot of people don't want to confront their behavior, so they don't want to write it down. And I talk to people a lot about it. If you have an idea of where you stand, then you can do better. You can get better. And
you can make it informed. It's like going to money therapy. That's what it is, because you have to face your problems, so to speak, and they're there. And whatever you do with them, that's up to you. That's because I come from psychology, so we want to shine a light on the things that you need to look at. We can't make your head look there, but we can shine a light and be like, this is where you should look. If you want to look here, this is like, it's kind of like that, right?
Very much so. And like you were saying with that quote, like, because there's that stigma of money's dirty and we shouldn't talk about it. It's a very strong resistance sometimes with people when it comes to confronting that behavior. So
So they come up to you, they're like, well, I don't have a lot of money. You're like, oh, well, no kidding. Like, let's just get that. Oh, good. We got to the core. Now we can start learning. Like, of course. So what was there a moment for you in your life where, you know, you were like, okay, I got to get serious. I got to start budgeting. Because I know you said that you've been doing that for a while, but what was that moment like where you decided to get serious about it?
Well, like I said before, when I was younger, I was able to save a lot of money, but I did turn 19. I was able to go out. I was able to start spending.
Pre-COVID.
Yes.
Ching.
And unfortunately, like I spent a significant amount of my savings. And one day I went through and I was looking at my account and I was like, man, where did all of my money go? I worked so hard to save it and it was gone so quickly. And I was like, that's never going to happen to me again. That's the first and last time that's going to happen to me, because it made me feel bad. Even though at the time, like, don't get me wrong, if you want to go out and you want to spend time and have that time, you should do it. Like, everyone deserves that, but you shouldn't put yourself into a hole in order to be able to do that, right? You should, you know, go out and enjoy, but you should make it a smart way. For sure.
100%. I agree. So, I mean, now that, you know, obviously you know a thing or two about budgeting, I've been budgeting myself for, like, on a spreadsheet on Google Docs for over a year now. And it's the most important thing I can do, I think. One of the most important things is just keeping track. So I know if I want to indulge here, I know in my mind, it's like, okay, there's like red flags, because I know I just see it. I see what I'm doing, so I make more informed decisions. I mean, I can also, you know, talk about the importance of budgeting because I do it. So let's start budgeting. Let's actually get some money on the table. Guys, we're going to show you how we each would budget. We're going to do $1,000. So let me get out the money. All right. So I'm going to go first and I'm going to explain how I would break down. We have $1,000 on the table. Y'all can check. Okay. There's 10 piles of $100. Okay. So I'm going to go first and show you guys and show you how I would
break down $1,000, given my situation, just what I would do personally. So 200, 300, 4, 5. I don't think your expenses, so your expenses would be fixed or variable. There's two different ways you call them.
Yeah.
So for me, that would be bills. I would put this as bills, like rent or whatever, or even like debt. I'd put anything I have to pay as my expenses. And I would do no more than 60%. Like, it depends on yourself. But for me, I would say no more than 60% should go. If more than 60% of your monthly income is towards your expenses, that's tough for you, right? You'd say.
Yeah.
So boom, I'm putting 60.
Okay.
I forgot to say, before we even start, I would pay myself, like you said, pay yourself. I would pay myself first $100 or 100, 10%, y'all, 10%. Don't catch me doing math right now. That's why I broke it down very simply. I'm gonna pay myself 10% right off the bat before I even pay my bills and stuff. So that's already 70%. Now with this 30%, okay, I might invest. I might do some crypto. I might do some, insurance. I might invest 10%. Boom. Okay, that's getting invested. Maybe it goes into some savings. I don't know, but that's going into my future. This 10% is I'm big on, and I saw this in the YouTube video, is giving, right? The way I grew up, it was always, my mom worked so hard. She's always working hard. She shows us what that's like. And it's so funny because, when we go somewhere and they say, do you want to donate to like some of your groceries? She'd say, no, we got to look out for us. I barely have enough for us. So she'd make that joke. But at the same time, we always donate our clothes. And so I think finding a way to give. So this 10% I would say is giving, whether that's, you're religious, you give back to your faith, to your community, giving to friends, family. Sometimes people need money from you. And if you give, you receive. So boom, I'm going to definitely budget enough money to give. Just 10%. I'm not trying to be Mother Teresa out here. But, and then the last 10% I would say is like whatever I want, which would be giving. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I don't know. It depends. I could pay myself more. I could put it into savings, investing, or I could put it into anything. So the 10% is whatever I want, which is kind of, in my mind, this is how you look at a person. Like, what are their real wants with their money? If they do everything else like this, my last 10% will show what kind of person I am. If I want to spend it, boom, put it there. If I want to save it, boom, put it there. So, I mean, my breakdown's pretty complicated. So, I mean, Rebecca's going to simplify it for us. Well, so let's start this again.
Let me just say, I commend you on that 10% of giving. That's really amazing that you do that. A lot of people, your mom used to say, they don't think about giving, but it always comes back to you tenfold. That's what I've known in my personal life. So I really respect you for that. I give my 10% as well for my tithes and offerings. Yes. And, I'm committed to try to do more as well, because I always want to try to help. And if you have the means to, there are a lot of people out there that could really use it.
Yeah, and I said I put it last because the first thing you're not going to do with your money is go donate. You have to look after yourself. For example, for yourself, you have to look out for your family. So the first 10% is not just give it away.
No.
That's the last 10%. Let's make sure everything else is taken care of. But okay, I have your breakdown here ready to go.
Yes. So the kind of industry standard that we have is a 50-30-20 rule. It helps you to really budget. So really you should be only spending about 50% of your monthly income on your obligations. So that would be like your bills, your rent, insurance, gas for sure. So
you'd be driving.
Yeah, exactly. And the 20% should be what you're saving for yourself. What I like to tell my clients that I work with is try to think of this as a bill as well, because if you are committed enough to paying your phone bill, you should be committed enough to be saving for yourself and for your future. Okay. And this last 30% is do as what you what you would like, really. And it's your luxuries. And I mean, a lot of people aren't as disciplined enough to have that 30% as like full luxuries. A lot of people extend that to the 60%.
Yeah, so I thought I was
Right?
kind of high with the 60, but is that kind of realistic for some people?
I mean, for your budget, for you, you're very disciplined to be able to do that, to be able to put a lot of that money towards what you need to be able to do. If you can keep up with that and maintain that, definitely continue with that, because it's a good path that you're taking. But a lot of people, they aren't as disciplined with their money as they really should be, and they're spending more. This pile might be their luxury pile, but it really should be the smaller pile. But yeah,
Back over there.
exactly. And also, like you said, you should always look to pay yourself first. That's the number one way that you're going to be able to get to where you need to be getting in your future.
So this 30%.
20. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not the financial expert. We're making that very clear today.
That should be first.
For yourself first.
Yeah.
Then you got your bills. Then you can do the luxury, pay
Exactly.
pay others, invest, whatever you want to do with that. So, cool.
Yes, for sure. And if you're able to manage this, please, like I always tell my clients, try to stick to it the best that they can. If they can't, and it's 70% that they're spending on their obligations, then they really need to consider what obligations they have in their life, or consider that they need to make a career change or something that will bring them additional income. Because if you're spending more than 60% on your obligations, you are working for your needs in your life. And
like, look at this. You're telling me you're going to spend 10% is going to go to your luxury. That's going to first come from here. So you're going to be pulling from your expenses, your savings. Sorry. And then you're going to just be dipping into your savings. Like you said, keep that as a bill in your mind.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of clients as well, I suggest that they put the savings somewhere that's not as easily accessible. You need to have 3 accounts. That's what we say in the industry. Your emergency, your short-term, and your long-term funds. The stuff that you're saving should really be somewhere in a long-term kind of fund that you can't easily get access to. And you need to develop your first 2 accounts, your emergency fund and your short-term fund, before you get into that long-term saving. Yeah.
The long term is like a nuke code. It's like it needs to be like a big decision.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, cool. So hopefully this demonstration helped you guys get a picture of your own budgeting. I hope you guys start budgeting if you haven't already. It'll only help a person, right?
Yes, for
but
sure.
You got to shine that light on yourself and be able to look at, some of the things that we're spending too much money on. I'll admit, like, yes, I spend so much money on food, university. You know that life.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So let's finish this with the last third, okay? We've talked about how we think about money. So our ideas match what we want with money. And, we've talked about budgeting. So we've got a little practical. So now let's talk about investing money, because that's how we ultimately make our money make us money. Is getting into finding enough money to budget so you can invest, and knowing where and how to invest. That's one of the big questions too. So I feel like nowadays people are bombarded with suggestions, methods to invest their money. Banks say RSPs and mutual funds. Social media says like Wealth Simple, Forex, and trading like this. But what do you find in your experience and professional opinion are people's biggest hesitation at all to invest their money?
I know that the number one reason why a lot of people don't think about investing their money is the fear of losing their money. That stops a lot of people from investing, from putting money into the stock market, for even opening a TFSA, because they don't understand the way that the stock market works. And so they're very fearful of it, because a lot of people know the 2008 downturn, the recent downturn that we had with COVID in February 2020. And a lot of people, they did see their finances, their investments go down. I think in February, it went down 20 to 30%, the market went down. But the thing that is not broadcasted is that it rebounded right back up. It almost took, I think, until May or June, and it was right back up and going above where it was sitting at before the downturn. So that's the one thing that people don't understand about the stock market. There are going to be downturns, but if you stay invested and you keep your money in, you ultimately come out ahead. When actually Warren Buffett kind of taught this, or he spoke about this as well, is that when the market goes down, the people who are fearful run away. People who want to make a lot of money, they go into it, because when you look at the market, when it goes down, those stocks like, for example, Amazon, Apple, that are like
Canada, these things like this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're really expensive right now where they're sitting at, right?
These ones, yeah, I know for sure.
But when the market goes down, you can kind of buy these stocks on sale, right? Because they're going down, they're more affordable. You can buy a lot more with the same amount of money. Mm-hmm. Then when the market rebounds and it goes back up, your investment that you made at a point where it was a little bit lower is worth quite a lot more. 100%. So that's the one thing I try to teach people about the stock market. It's not like a crazy, scary place to be at. It's not something that you can time. So for those platforms that are like Wealthsimple or Invesco that are, encouraging you to buy these stocks and, manage it yourself, it's not an easy thing to manage funds when it comes to the stock market. It's not something that you can time to make a lot of money. You have to be very lucky sometimes to be able to get in where you are. A lot of these fund managers that manage like billions of dollars, their life from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. are looking at markets, and they're not just looking at New York Stock Exchange, TSX. They're looking at, Asia markets and Euro markets. They're looking globally, right? And, something that happens in North America could greatly affect what's happening in China or vice versa. And they have not only themselves, but a team of people that are constantly looking at that. If you have the time to commit to that, by all means do that. But for the average everyday person who's going and working 40 hours a week, you just simply don't have the time to do that. And putting your money where it's being, managed actively is really, there's no comparison to, investing on your own and stuff 100%. Like that.
I feel like one of the big reasons people like these Wealthsimple, these stock markets, getting into theirs, because they like to see, like, for example, Bitcoin. You get into it, you buy it, goes up, it feels good. It gives you a little dopamine rush. It's kind of like, I think I said it was like gambling.
Yes.
And that's what people like. We like the instant gratification. That's what that's what we see in our society. It just is what it is. But on the opposite side, you have, long-term investing, which isn't as appealing on the outside, but really it's going to take you long-term. Like you said, invest somewhere where people are helping you, giving you professional advice, and that's going to mean more in the long term. So,
and that's definitely not necessarily like institutions. A lot of my clients that I look at their investments are, they're going up, but they're really not doing anything that's helping them. A lot of times I tell people, if your investments are not making more than 3%, you're not making anything on your money, because people tend to forget inflation. And that's one thing that degrades your money a lot. Like, you can see it so simply by the housing market and how much it's gone up. A house 30 years ago is still the same house, but now it's worth significantly more. Like, you can see it in things like Dollarama, where you go in there now nothing's really for a dollar anymore. Right?
Jeez.
And before, when I was younger, not to age myself, but you could get like 3 for $1 and like 5 for $1.
Yeah,
at those
I remember
places.
that. No, I remember that.
And now it's like, I don't even see
$2.65,
exactly.
$4.98.
Exactly.
Like, what is this? Yeah, that's true inflation. Yes.
Yeah, like just because you go to a bank or an institution doesn't necessarily mean that they're managing your money the best that they can. You have to it all comes down to get educated about what's out there, about the market, about the different kinds of funds, what's available to you, and really talk to somebody who's in that industry and sit down and have a frank conversation, because if they're hiding something from you, I don't think they're really trying to help you. This
True.
I always try to be 100% transparent with the people that I work with, because it's your money. You worked really hard for it. You deserve for it to start working hard for you. So
it's so important to be transparent, especially in your industry. You're dealing with people's money. I've never dealt with people's money more than customer service at Shoppers Drug Mart. Here's your change kind of thing. But yeah, you have to definitely care about what you're doing. So can you talk a little bit about like life insurance, for example? Like that's something people don't really know about, or they think they know about. So from your experience, can you talk about why that's so important and how it's so effective?
Right. So life insurance is so important for someone who is trying to build their life, for someone who's starting out and they have a lot of responsibilities. At this point in time, if you have a lot of obligations, be it family, be it bills, be it parents who depend on you, you need to have something in place so that if, God forbid, anything happens to you, they are taken care of, right? Because it's really sad when someone leaves and they leave a family struggling, right? That's what insurance kind of helps you. It protects you for the now. Insurance is not meant to be something you pay for your whole life. That's something that a lot of people kind of buy into. I'm not sure why, but it's really something you should have at a point where you need to be insured, where you have a lot of obligations. Later on in life, once you have, let's say, paid down your house, or, you've gotten all your kids through school, or, you've gotten to that point where you're financially stable, life insurance isn't something that you need to keep, because you should have cash savings waiting for you whenever you're ready to take it. That's why saving is so important.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, well, okay. And okay, I feel like we've talked a lot about saving and investing, and you could call life insurance, and you can call looking into stocks like you're investing in yourself for sure. And it's interesting that you mentioned you don't have to do, for example, life insurance for your whole life. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. So you're really kind of clearing up a lot of things that people, I guess, we just don't really know about. I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think a lot of times people just need to learn more any way they can. So
yeah, the goal ultimately is to be financially independent. If your financial advisor, your financial planner, whoever you're working with is not, helping you to get to that point, then you might need to sit back and really question their motives and kind of where they're sitting at. Because ultimately, when you meet somebody in the financial industry and you work with them to come up with a financial plan, it should be ultimately in the end that you don't need them anymore, that you will be financially free to be able to, travel or do whatever it is that you need to do. But if there's someone there who's kind of selling you products or policies that holds you in for life, then maybe their motives aren't necessarily for helping you. Maybe their motives are commission based. Like you got to look into the person helping you. I think this is a very personable industry field. You wouldn't want an AI machine looking at you. Like, definitely.
It's nice to have a human touch in this kind of situation, right? For sure. So, any final words of encouragement for this whole topic, or ways people can reach you and just learn more information about this?
Well, anyone who's interested in learning can definitely reach me on my Instagram. It's at Team Dulchen. I try to post financial facts, different kinds of things that are going on with my business, as well as different articles that you might learn things from. So you can definitely follow me. And if you PM me and you are interested in doing classes, or you're interested in sitting down for a Zoom or anything like that, I will definitely get back to you and contact you back, and we can make it happen. I just want to let people know that, at the end of the day, it's never too late to start, and it's never too late to get on the right track, but you need to be able to do that. You need to do it at some point. So if it's a matter of confronting your bad habits and, getting a budget in place, like how you're saying, I can help you do that. And, I ultimately want to see you get to those dreams and goals that you're hoping to get to for your future. So whatever I can do to help, I really try to do that for my clients. So,
and we have to humble ourselves sometimes and just say, you know what, even though we think we know things, a wise person will know that they have to reach out to other people that are wise. Everybody has information to share. Even a homeless man can tell you what not to do. Even a homeless person can give you advice on what not to do. We all have advice to give. So don't be afraid. Reach out to Rebecca, reach out to any source that you need to, that can help you reach your goals, like you're saying. So yeah, just want to thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
And I have one final question to ask all my guests.
Yes.
And it's just kind of a question you can take however you'd like. Is what sets your soul on fire?
What sets my soul on fire is ultimately getting to a point in life where I have the freedom to be able to spend time with my son and my husband and not have to answer to anybody about it. So that's definitely where I'm sitting at and where I am working towards. And, you know, I hope one day to get there sooner rather than later, for sure. So.
For sure. Okay, so come back to the podcast when you got there. We'll reflect on everything that you did and
for sure.
give it a part 2 for this. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. And thank you again for being a guest on this episode. So yeah, take care, guys. Enjoy your day. Go make your money make you money.
Exactly.
Okay? Yes. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
So thank you for listening, for watching, for enjoying this episode. I know I did. Like I said, I learned a lot. And yeah, just, you know, if you find yourself returning to this episode for some of the perspectives that you heard, that's probably a good idea. And I appreciate you for being here so much. And like I said, book's coming out next week. So that's going to be the next podcast, is about the book on April 1st. So be ready for that. Can't stress enough. This is going to be a big moment for us, but let's enjoy every moment until then. And I'll see you then. Until that moment, this has been Vibing Out with Texony. I'm your host, Texony, aka Mr. WorldVibe. And I'm signing out. Peace.